Hello, today I'd like to talk with you about relay data export with the focus on the CSV files that we have available in our standard, pro and university plans. As you can see on your study dashboard, there is the export data button, and you can choose between downloading the row gazes, fixations, AOE fixation count, AOE fixations order, and the AOE click count. Let me introduce you with all those CSVs. The raw gazes is just the raw data, the samples that we take from each participant. The fixations are the fixation that we calculate after taking all the samples, so it's made based on the raw data. AOE fixation count, fixation order, and click count. Those three CSV files require previously making the AOE on your items. So first you need to go to your items, map your areas of interest, and then you are able to download all the data from these areas. Okay, so let's start with the row gazes. As you can see, there are a few columns. The tester ID, the tester age, tester gender. These are from the mini survey at the end of the test that you can ask your participant to answer to these questions. Item ID and test ID. The test ID is the result from each participant. Then we have while the test was created, so the result was created. Then the test duration, so for how long it took the participant to complete the eye tracking test. Then we have the test browser width and height in pixels. Those are just the values, the parameters in pixels of the browser window. The external data in this column, you will see the external parameters, external values that you've added to the participation link to track the participant. For example, the external ID, and the most important thing in this file is the test row data. And as you can see, it's an array of samples, of eye tracking samples. First two parameters are the coordinates x and y of the participant's eyes. Then when the sample was taken, so it was the 28th millisecond from the beginning of the test. Then the value null means that there was no scrolling. If there would be one, that would mean that the participant scrolled at this time. Then the cursor x and y coordinates, and if there would be additional additional value 1, the 1 would mean that the participant at this time clicked. And as you can see, for each participant, we take many samples, so you can take this data and analyze it in your own way, in your own program, or use our online tool. It's up to you. The next CSV file is fixations. So as you can see, the first column is the study ID, then item ID, item file name. This is the name that your file, so your image or your video has when you upload it on our platform. Then tester ID and tester external ID if you use this option, of course. Then the tester display name, those are the values from the additional survey about asking the testers about their name, gender, and age. Then item question and item answer. As you may know, our tool allows to ask one question after each stimuli. So in this file, you will able to see those questions with the answer for each participant, for each item, of course. As you can see, this participant answered to this question, which actors you like the most. He answered just Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay. The next column, two columns actually, are fixation coordinates X and Y. Then the fixation starts at and ends at, so when the fixation started and ended, and for how long it lasts, so the fixation duration in milliseconds. And at the end, you can see the relay nodes. So in this column we'll tell you the information about the parameters, so the relay version, and the fixation filter settings. And first of all, those two parameters, so the gaze point interpolation and gaze point interpolation max gap, those two values are set by default by us. The gaze point interpolation in hertz are set to 60 hertz. We use that to improve our calculation, because the fixations filter works better with this value set on. Then the gaze point interpolation max gap in 50 milliseconds. That means that if the gap between two gazes is bigger than this gap, that means that we can't add it to be one fixation. So probably there was some data missing or anything like that. Then the fixation filter settings that you can see on your item dashboard. Let me show you. As you can see here, you can set the minimum fixation duration, so the minimum time that define the fixation. Noise reduction level, so how many points we should take to reduce the noise, and the gaze velocity threshold, so with what velocity it's still a velocity of an eye, it's still as fixation, and when the saccade starts. So it's to define whether the eye is in the fixation position or the saccade mode. Okay, next we have the AOI fixation count. So for each AOI, of course, you have all the IDs like study ID, item file name, tester ID, tester external ID, and the tester display name as previous. Of course, item question and tester item answer as well as previously. Then we have the AOI ID and AOI name. This is the name that you put when you're saving an AOI. Then for each of those AOI, for each participant, you can see how many fixation there was, what was the average time of those fixations, the time to first fixation for each AOI, and AOI fixation total time. At the end, so those four parameters are really just the parameters from our AOI, as you can see here. Next, the last column again is the same nodes, is the same column that tells you about the relay nodes, so the relay version and fixation filter settings, exactly as previously. The next time of our CSV file is the AOI fixations order. So the only difference between this CSV and the previous one is that here you don't have the AOI count, AOI fixation count for each participant, but for each participant, for each item, you can see in what order this particular participant looked over all the AOI that you've created. So in this case, the participant looked at Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Monster, Monster, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, and Red Bull. And this participant looked just once on the Monster AOI. And our last but not least, AOI click count CSV. As previously, here's the study ID, item file name, tester ID, tester external ID, tester display name, item question, and tester item answer. Those values are exactly as in the two previous files. AOI ID, AOI name, similar as in the last one. And for each participant, you can see the number of clicks that this participant made within this particular AOE. So you can ask your participants to click on your item, for example, to choose, like here, to choose which items would they like to buy, and then create AOEs for each of the item, and check in this CSV how many clicks there were for each AOE, or see it here on the study dashboard. Yeah, I think that's pretty all. Maybe one more thing, you can download the data CSV from the item heat map panel, as you can see here. Then you'll download the data only for this item, and with the fixation filter settings changed to suit your needs best. So if you change those settings, then in the notes column the settings will be as you set them. Okay, I think that's all for today. Thank you for listening, and until next time.